Good morning, everybody. How you doing on this Saturday morning? Well, it was raining this morning. Seemed to have stopped now, but I got some inside work in the shed here that I'm doing for the head stick controlling rod and coupling holder, and I want to show you what I've done here. Of course, it's a horrible mess, as it always is, but I want to show you what I did. And it took me quite a while to do it. Now, this is out of my odds and end plumbing stuff. I needed to make something to go around the head stick. Here is the head, a piece of head stick. This is not the one that's in Dorkel, but it's the same diameter. Now, what I done, and it was not easy, believe me, is I got this. I think it's 1/2 inch wide aluminum, and I made it into a bobby pin sort of a thing, a hairpin if you want to call it that. And the reason for that is so that this can go back and forth like this. I was originally going to use the brazing rod, if I can get it out of here, and make it into a horseshoe, but the way that's going to be mounted, it would not be very solid. Even though the brazing rod itself is, mounting it would not be too solid on the stick. This would go on like this. I'd drill a hole in the back here and put a screw through this, and then a screw on each side over here. This way it will not turn or do one of these numbers up and down. Now you can see it hardly moves even though it's just clamped in there. Now I'm going to show you how I made this. I'm not about to make another one to show you. I'm going to just tell you in show and tell here. First, okay, hopefully we're in camera here. We take this piece of pipe. There's a end cap on this that's 1 inch in diameter. This tubing here is 1 inch in diameter. Okay, so what I did is I simply put this in the vise like this. Actually, I started out putting it in the vise this way. Alright, then I took the aluminum after finding the center of where I want to bend it. I put it in here and I pulled around so that it became a U-shaped. Alright, after I got that done, put it in sideways like this. Took my big vice grip and grabbed it right in here and squeezed the hell out of it, keeping this in the center. And I end up with this. It was not easy because these two pieces were like this. So then I had to take and put it in the vise and straighten them out so that they're perfectly straight like they are now. We've got a bobby pin or a hairpin. My mom used to call them bobby pins. But anyways, they kind of looks like one, doesn't it? But now this enables me to put this on the bottom of the head stick. I'm going to have to remove that 3/8 inch threaded rod. That's not a problem because it'll slide right out the bottom. And I put this back up in there and get it where I want it. Okay, and then put the cap back on there and tighten that up. Now, we solved the problem of the in and out. Apparently there are at least one or more of my viewers that don't seem to understand about why it's got to move in and out. As the radius, this is 90 degrees. The threaded rod will be, I'm going to use this hacksaw blade as a reference. The threaded rod and the coupling the 3/8 coupler that I showed you on part 2, if you watched part 2, is threaded halfway into the 1 foot long threaded rod. That's going to be the center starting point. Now, let's say I put it right here, okay? Not to the end, but right here. As I'm not going to move this now. As this turns, you see what I'm trying to say? It comes almost to the end. In other words, it has to move up and down, and that's what's going to happen here. It's going to move up and down now, as well as being captured in here. And I can see this is still out a little bit, so I got to do a little more bending because I need both surfaces to be level. Not a problem. We'll straighten that out. So as this turns, I'm going to show you this way. Here's the threaded rod. Let's say you're looking from the bottom of Uncle Dorkle towards his head. His head is up here. You're looking at the bottom shaft. You've got your head right up under there and you're looking at it. All right, this is the threaded rod. The coupler's in the middle here. All right, as this turns, the distance between this and this does not change. Okay, but it's forced to change at this point. In other words, the nut has to move on this rod. This rod is being, if its rod stayed in one place, there would never be a problem. As this rod is turning, the coupler does not turn, by the way. The coupler is stationary. The threaded rod, which is running inside the coupler, is turning by the motor. So as it's turning, the coupler is moving. But as you can see, and I'm holding this and it's quite difficult to get it steady, you can see it's almost to the end. When I come to the center position, which is 90 degrees from the threaded rod, it's down here. When it goes over to here, it's up here. I'm using that as a reference. I might start way down here. That'll give me a little more throw. I only need a throw like this. About 45 degrees here, 45 degrees here, and the center is 90. I hope I made myself clear. Now there's another issue that I've solved, and I want to show you now. We'll move this stuff out of the way here. Let me get those screws. Now, I don't know if you can see this here. I don't want to put this camera on macro. This is a self-tapping screw that I'm going to be using. The self-tapping screw is going to be screwed in the center of the coupler. And let me see if I can find the coupler. I can show you a lot better. Hang on. All right, this is the coupler. I marked 5/8 of an inch because that's the wrench size it fits. Okay. Now, if I can find my, here it is. Okay, I took it off the head stick, but you hopefully can visualize. The head stick goes in here like that. But for simplification, this is how she's going to be. This is going to ride on the bottom of this. This goes around the head stick as I showed you. I'm going to drill in the dead center of this an 1/8 inch hole to accommodate this screw that's going to be sitting like this. Now, for years I collect little pieces of hardware. I've done it for years. Anything, when I was at work, they found things on the floor, I picked them up. This is a little open, I call it a bearing. It slips right on here and it turns on the screw. What this is going to do, after I get this adjusted where I want it, there's going to be a washer on this. This is coming down first. This is going to go inside this here. Now right now it's not, I got to adjust this. So the coupler acts as a bearing so you don't have these threads rubbing up and down here. There'll be a washer here to keep this thing from flying off. As this turns, this will slide up and down a little bit, as I told you, looking at it from the bottom of Dorkle. In the center, as this is turned out, this comes up here. As this goes straight, it'll go here, and the other way around, of course. That will be screwed onto this. This holds this together and also keeps this rod following this coupling. That's all there is to that. This won't fall out because I'll have a washer on this, which will be laying on this. In addition to that, this will be oiled or greased. This will be probably greased so that the whole thing will move freely. And I don't think there will be any problem with that. So I did want to get this piece made. It's kind of wet out there today, so there may not be anything more done today unless it clears up. The rod will be stationary, but naturally as it's turning, it's forcing this coupler to go one way or the other way, depending on the direction I have the motor electrically switched over. I'm going to have a switch so it'll go one way to the other. And that way, when this coupler goes over here, it'll turn the head this way, center, and this way. The only thing I cannot do is I'm going to have to be very careful when it comes to the end, because the motor will crank this thing and crank it and break something. There is no stop on this. I haven't figured out a way to make it stop other than to shut the motor off. If that's the case, I couldn't reverse it. So I have to make very sure by looking at his head, when I see his head turning extreme left or right, to stop the motor and reverse it, or just stop it. Depends on what the application is and what kind of a skit he's been doing. So this motor otherwise it'll just keep cranking and break something. Most likely bending this or something. And then that would be this was not easy to make. It took me about a half an hour to get this bent up the way I wanted it. Maybe 15 minutes. I exaggerate a little bit sometimes. Okay, let's see if I can give you a little clearer demonstration here. Okay, this is the way the screw is. The screw is going to they're going to drill a hole in the dead center of this and put the self-tapping screw in here. Now the screw is only going to go part way in. Obviously it can't interfere with the thread, so it's only got to go part way in here, just enough to capture it. Now this is the bushing I'm talking about right here. I have a bunch of these, and I guess they're stainless, I'm not sure. I've had them for years, more years than I care to count. It's going to slide on the screw like this, and it's loose. So it acts as a bearing, so you don't have this rough thread rubbing up and down this. So it takes two hands to do this. This will go. I got a couple. I got one that's a little smaller in diameter that fits the screw a little better. So it'll ride up and down here. Now, at the end, I may put a little screw through here and here to keep these from bending like this. In other words, we need to keep the spacing of this properly, because the throw on this, as this moves, like I say, it'll probably be roughly in this area here at 90 degrees. When it gets out to the extreme end over here, it could end up out here, but still there'll be enough room. I can put a nut in the middle here and a screw here and tighten it up and keep it from going any closer. In other words, this little coupler that's stuck in there right now is about the spacing that I want, roughly, maybe just a little bit closer together. And I got to get a better washer than this, but you can see the washer sits up on top like this. And it allows, as this rod is turning, as I said, it's stationary, makes this move up and down. So this needs to come down more. The washer is a little bit small for this. The head needs to come down and butt up against the washer. There it is. It just did it. So there's enough thread in there that'll go in there like that. And that's basically it. It's simple. Lubrication in here, oil on this here, and simple. It's really something I should have. And I was trying to do it with the brazing rod like I did with the eyes, and that probably would have worked too, but it's not as strong. This here going right around the head stick is going to really be strong because there's going to be a lot of force. It's not easy turning that head, and it doesn't turn smoothly, mainly because there is no bearing surface at the neck area. It's just cardboard against cardboard with white lithium grease. It's really not a good design. I should have really made a bearing surface, like a Lazy Susan bearing, but it's a little too late to do that now. I would have to take them all apart, and I've already taken him apart as much as I want to do right now. So that's it, folks. We got this problem solved, and I want to thank everybody for giving me uh, information on this. I just had to think it over a little bit, and that's all. Just a cup of coffee this morning, and thinking about it in Dunkin' Donuts, and say, you know what? This is the way to go. So that's what we're going to do. Now, it's raining now, so we're going to do is we're going to call this good for today, and we're going to call this part 3, because I think I gave enough video in here to make it worth doing a part 3 rather than to just add this to another video. So that's all we got to do with this, and then we're going to couple this to the motor shaft, and then what I'm going to probably do, I bought some of this, but I probably don't need all this. This is 4 feet, cost me $6. You know, this project is dollaring me to death here with $2 here, $5 here, $8 here. You know, it's all adding up, and you know, I just hope this is all going to be worthwhile. You know, there are some people I see on their last video there. There's few trolls out there that don't like it, I guess, but that's just too damn bad. They don't have to watch it. You know, and this is for you people out there that do enjoy these things and do enjoy the comedy skits, which is what this is all about. And a lot of times when I do these videos, as a matter of fact, most of the time when I'm doing these videos, it's to show you how I do something, so that if you want to make something, not necessarily, I've said this before, not necessarily you want to make your own ventriloquist dummy or a mechanical man or whatever you want to make. It's just that it gives you ideas on your projects that you may be building, and you're trying to figure, well, geez, how can I do that? And, you know, I get ideas from different things. A lot of ideas are generated right up here in the gray matter, which apparently is still there because I'm able to come up with something besides a lot of hot air out of my back end. Thank you very much, folks, for watching, and stay tuned for the next part of motorizing my uncle. So we're going to conclude part 3 right now, and I want to thank you for watching. Have a good day, and stay dry and stay cool.